News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. How concerned, I should say, are you that Iranians are going to have a nuclear bomb? In a week or two, they're going to have enough nuclear material to actually have a bomb, make a bomb. And within a year, they're going to have the missile to deliver it. That literally cannot happen. The beauty of that is, listen to this, the beauty of that is, with what we've seen with the unparalleled, unmatched Israeli intelligence service, the Mossad and Shin Bet, that they are, well, they've demonstrated with two things. When Iran... the last time when they struck inside of Tehran, as we all know. Well, not in Tehran, but inside of Iran recently. That was with that back and forth when Iran launched hundreds of missiles and drones at Israel in one night. And they knew it was going to be a show of force, but it wouldn't hurt Israel, and it barely scratched them. But that was their way of saying, look at how awesome we are. You don't mess with us, Iran. But they also, to show how they can crush them, Israel struck right next to one of their bases and near a nuclear facility to show they can do a pinprick strike and do it wherever they want. They can get you. They can kill you. They can hit any place they want at any time. But they didn't do it, so they were power under strength, which is what the definition of meekness is. Power under control, if you will, not power under strength. Power under control is meekness. That's what Jesus, for example, that's what he had, all that power, and he was meek. Power under control, that's what they did. Number two, they literally knew exactly what building and what room the leader of Hamas, the highest ranking person of all of Hamas, one of the billionaires, the political face of Hamas. Funny enough, he was the one leading negotiations. Oh, they blew up so young. So there's your negotiations. But they put a bomb in his, I read the New York Times description of how they did it detailed today. But they put a bomb in his room, 2 months before he was even there. He was there for a day right after he shook the hand of the new president who was inaugurated, Iranian president. He went home and he blew up in that guest suite. So, so the precision strikes, the ability is intense. And with Munich... 72 Olympics music. I still haven't watched the movie, and I want to watch it with all my heart, especially now. But they went in, and the Iranian terrorists went in, and they took hostage one of the men's Israeli men's Olympic team, and they ended up killing them all. In the 72 Olympics. And so that was in Munich. And so what happened was Israel said, we will get them. And they literally, the radical Islamists and Hamas and Iran and they're all terrorists. Now, by the way, the Iranian people are wonderful. Like 80% of them love us, and we should love them. It's the radical Islamists that control and run the place, and it is the 20% that are in lockstep with them. The 80% of these people are beautiful, wonderful people, and I mean that with all my heart. I'm not just saying that. I've met some. And there are underground churches there, for example, which would be killed and jailed and tortured if they were found out. So, but they went and they hunted them down one at a time, and it took 10, 12 years, I think, for one of them. And he was walking down the street in Europe, in one of the European, I don't know if it was Rome or in Germany, one of those two. I think it was in Germany. He's walking down the street, and somebody from the Mossad, dressed up as a civilian, walked up to him, shot him, and killed him, and just walked right back past him. So they will find you, and they will kill you. And I proudly say, may the Star of David crush these terrorists. And the sad thing is that Joe and Kamala all the way are trying to stop this, and they're sympathizing with Hamas and the terrorists. Watch this. And here's your evidence. And again, how my questions for you are: how concerned are you that the Iranians are going to have a nuclear bomb? Who do you trust to bring peace to the Middle East again? And Trump or Biden, Kamala, and why? And how unstable do you think the Middle East, Ukraine, China, and North Korea tensions would have been under President Trump? 800-288-WBAP. Chime in right now. We got 4 lines open. 800-288-9227. By the way, it was dominoes. Biden allowed Afghanistan to collapse because he chose to pull out with no plan. He overruled all of his generals who said, don't pull out fully. Don't leave like this. It's not ready. He overruled all of them. And he also decided to abandon overnight a $1 billion state-of-the-art base that we had built, where we were going to keep, under Trump's plan, 2,500 of our soldiers safe in an incredible base, and we could operate for terrorist operations against Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Afghanistan. They have resurged, and they now can strike us here, ISIS and Al-Qaeda, once again, and they are doing tremendously successful operations out of Afghanistan. They even are so incredible that Biden's let them do this and resurge since we abandoned Afghanistan. They are so incredible, they have the cojones to go into Iran. And because they don't actually have the same radical Islam, Sunni versus Shia thing. But they went into Iran at Qasem Soleimani, the general that Trump took out, which is, again, why he's incredible with this policy, the Iranian Republican Guard general. And they went and they blew up 80 and killed 80 people, ISIS jihadis, at the annual commemoration of his death. So they blew up the terrorists blowing up terrorists, and that's who Joe Biden has set free. Joe Biden abandoned that Bagram Air Force Base overnight and just turned the lights off, didn't tell anybody with Afghanistan, and he freed thousands of Al-Qaeda and ISIS terrorists. One of the ISIS terrorists he freed within 3 days blew himself up and killed 13 of our soldiers. All Joe and Kamala's fault. Remember, Kamala said she was the last one in the room. She signed off on this plan and got dozens and dozens of our soldiers maimed, legs blown off, arms blown off, forever scarred. So that's what I wanted to tell you. So it started with Afghanistan, which made Ukraine get invaded because they knew that Joe wouldn't do anything. In fact, Joe was asked, Joe allowed Putin to put 70,000 troops surrounding Ukraine, and then Joe was asked, would you let an incursion happen? He said, maybe a minor one, only a minor one. Everybody had breathtaking. We're like, what? They gasped. So that gave Putin the green light, showing his fecklessness and his limpness, and that gave the green light of Iran. And just so you know, Iran and Hamas and Hezbollah, they're all in bed with China. China met with Hamas and has productive, regular meetings as friends. They're allies. They support Hamas publicly. And so does Russia, and Russia actually helps get missiles and arms to Iran that it's not allowed to have. So Joe Biden has brought our greatest enemies together in spectacular fashion, and they're attacking us all over the world. We have 3 world wars going on because of Joe Biden. It's because Joe Biden has no balls, and he chooses not to put any. He chooses to have no balls, and Kamala is worse. So this is why it's a disaster. And we have 3 wars right now because of Joe. We're on the precipice of having a World War III, and that's true. Hank in Harker Heights, you are on News Talk 11. I should say you're high WBAP. Let's get right to it. Sorry. Go ahead. We don't have that long title anymore. Go ahead.
Yes. What I'm saying, I think that the Iranian people are against the Iranian Islamic.
Yes.
And that's why...
A lot of them are Islamic, but they're not terrorist. And there's a lot of actually non-Islamic, but Christian. But yeah, go ahead.
There you go. And the point is that I think the complexion of the Islamic religion is between Sunni and Shia. And as soon as it really get the standpoint...
You're breaking up a lot. Okay, you're breaking up a lot, so just repeat the last 10 seconds. Go.
Okay, Sunni and Shia and Sunni... Yeah. Shia and Sunni need to get together.
They're never going to. They've killed each other and hate each other for, hundreds of years or close to that. So that's not going to happen, and we're not going to do it. They both want it. Well, most of them both want to kill us. But who's safer? Who would not have all these hot wars be breaking out here? Kamala Biden or Trump?
Hey. is definitely a no-go. And, we can see that with what she's been doing and what she's been trying to do in her honeymoon period of changing the discourse.
Yeah. All right, I got to roll, buddy, but I appreciate your call. Coming up next, I'm going to share the last thoughts, and then we're going to get into one of the biggest stories still out there is Trump at the NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists. How unprofessional was the ABC reporter in her treatment of Trump? What you're going to hear, that first question out of the box, it's an attack. It's not a question. It's a series of attacks followed with a question right off the bat. And then how bad was Trump's response to her and his racial comments about Kamala? And here's another one I want to introduce. If you're black, how did it make you feel to hear those comments that Trump made about Kamala, being Indian, or was she black, saying that, and how has it affected your vote? All that is next, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Okay, why is Kamala Harris such a disaster for these world wars and hurting our greatest ally in the world next to Britain? They're actually just as strong as Britain, if not stronger. And I'll ask the question again if you'd like to chime in, and then we're going to get into the NABJ fallout today and get your reaction on some of that. I've had time to really go through it and analyze it, and I wanted to share my deeper thoughts with you. But the question on the Iranian thing, last time we're going to chime in on this, but how concerned are you with the Iranians that they are going to have a nuclear bomb? Who do you trust to bring peace to the Middle East again, Trump or Biden, Kamala, and why? And how unstable do you think the Middle East, Ukraine, China, and North Korea tensions would have been under Trump if we were in his fourth year right now? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Here's two quotes from two separate editorials in the Wall Street Journal. The evidence has shown Hamas gives ground when it's most under military pressure. Hamas politicians remaining in Qatar, or Qatar, you can pronounce it both ways. Hamas politicians remaining in Qatar now know their lives are also on the line. Al-Qaeda and ISIS are not allowed political wings with terrorist diplomats in expensive suits. Why should Hamas be treated any different? That's exactly right. Could you imagine if 3 billionaires that ran ISIS and Al-Qaeda were living up in five-star luxury, negotiating as if they were legitimate? No, we'd kill them. Whenever we can find one of them, we kill them. Example, the last one we just killed in the past year or so was, maybe it's the last 3 years, Ayman al-Zawahiri. He is a physician. He's a brilliant terrorist, and he was staying at a place where the the Taliban, who Joe Biden left in charge, what a disgrace, they were housing him and hanging with him. So we just did a drone. We droned him and blew his up in his little motel there that he was being put up by Afghanistan, the people that Joe left in charge. He loves those terrorists. He let them set them free. Okay, Kamala Harris's gift to Hamas. This is in the Journal today. Never mind her childish boycott of Benjamin Netanyahu's address to Congress, Israel's prime minister. He gave a joint address to Congress the other day, as you know, and she blew him off for a sorority that had 5 days of sorority. She could have gone a different day. Why was it necessary for her to side with the Palestinian narrative that places the blame for the war on Israel? We cannot look away in the face of these tragedies, she said the next day, talking about the Gaza. She said the next day after meeting with Netanyahu, we cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent. And the columnist of this article, Mr. Segal from Israel's Channel 12 News, he says, this is a direct threat to Israel that if it continues the war, a Biden-Harris administration is itself supported and called just. So they're threatening Israel if they continue the war that they say is just. Harris, who in a recent interview, this is amazing. Harris, who in a recent interview, she said she was hearing stories about people in Gaza eating animal feed and grass, is apparently unaware that food prices there are significantly lower than in Israel. In any other war in the past century, has any one side regularly supplied food and goods to the enemy's civilians and still been attacked by the White House? Harris is giving Hamas's leader, Yahya Sinwar, every reason in the world to refuse a hostage deal. Why give Israel the hostages if there's a possibility the 47th president will force Israel to end it anyway? This is more diplomatic incompetence from Kamala. Her worldview is troubling in its immorality. Campus protesters, quote, according to Kamala, are showing exactly what the human emotion should be as a response to Gaza. She is saying people that sympathize with terrorists. Remember, 3 out of 4 of every Gazan supports Hamas after they slaughtered 1,200 Jews, raped them, and kidnapped 280 of them, including babies and children. A war between a pro-Iranian murder organization and a democratic state is not a binary issue, Kamala. Amen, brother man. Amen. And that puts icing on the cake. Hey, by the way, for a little bonus, Kamala's national security advisor, who's going to be her national security advisor if she gets president, Phil Gordon, is now under investigation. A senior Defense Department official said he was reportedly, as a senior Defense Department official, involved in an Iranian government operation to expand Tehran's soft power in the United States. This woman was in the administration, and he was working with her, and he did 3 editorials with her that were pro-Iran. Kamala's national security advisor is in the pocket of Iran, it is believed. He's being probed right now for his ties to Iran. He co-authored at least 3 pieces with a woman, a senior Defense Department official who was reportedly involved in an Iranian government operation to expand their soft power in the United States. That argued, he co-authored at least 3 opinion pieces that argued sanctions against Iran. Gordon is likely to play a central national security role in Harris's White House. His connections to pro-Tehran activity groups, advocacy groups, suggest a renewed diplomacy with Iran will be a top foreign policy for Harris if she's elected. She will appease and kiss the butt of terrorists who hate us, kill us, and kill Jews and hate Jews. That's who she is. She's worse than Joe Biden. He's not much better, but she's worse. And she doesn't know even what she's doing. Next, the NABJ. I'm going to play one soundbite. And it's going to be of her question, the ABC News reporter, who literally didn't ask a question. She attacked him for 52 seconds and then put a question in at the very beginning of the whole thing. How unprofessional was that reporter in her treatment of Trump? And how bad was Trump's response to her and his racial comments about Kamala? And if you're black, how did it make you feel to hear those comments? And how has it affected your vote? That's next. Chris Krok, News Talk 820. Chime in right now on that. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227 on News Talk 820 WBAP. And now on FM at 93.3. 20 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. Here's a quick follow-up from one of the intelligence operations I follow online. And I told you the last time Israel did what it needed to do to kill the terrorists, to defend itself from terrorists like we do from Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Iran launched a major strike, hundreds of long-range missiles, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and one-way attack drones. But this time, it's going to be much bigger because Israel took out the billionaire the top highest leader of Hamas in Tehran as a guest of the Iranian president the day of his day after the hours after he was there shaking his hand publicly and praise our false god, and then goes back and blows up. They blow up so young. It's terrible. Anyway, there's a new intelligence service that is very, very, very good that I follow. Says this attack. The assessment by U.S. defense officials believe that a potential Iranian retaliatory strike is going to be similar to the attack against Israel on April 18th, involving possibly hundreds of long-range ballistic and cruise missile alongside one-way attack drones. But this is going to be much bigger, and more complicated than before, including the possibility of a coordinated attack by Hezbollah from the north, including the possibility of from Hezbollah and other Iranian-backed groups from multiple fronts. Officials are also deeply concerned this attack could be simultaneous with widespread targeting of U.S. bases and troops in Syria, Iraq, and possibly other countries across the Middle East. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are absolutely walking us backwards into World War III. This is all them. And Miss Kamala's already run the show there, and she's going to take credit for World War III. And you'll have to elect her so she can... do you know this woman's hiding from interviews? She hadn't done one interview after she announced she's running for president in 11 days. Not one sit-down, one-on-one interview. Because she, when she does, she's afraid. There is a 4-minute video of Kamala's interviews, like clips of her, just how horrible she is. She can't do an interview without sounding like an idiot. Probably find it here. But Dana Perino was talking about it on the 5 on Fox News today, and I'll pull that up and I'll start cutting it up and we'll play some of it. Here it is. I got it right here. 4 minutes of straight Kamala being unburdened. Yeah, all of her disastrous things in interviews. I will play that for you a little bit by bit, but first I'm going to set this one up with you first. Okay, so I wanted to follow up big time on the NABJ, which is National Association of Black Journalists. I have friends in the NABJ. It does not have to be, and isn't necessarily a leftist organization, although I would say that probably 80 to 90% of the folks in the NABJ probably hate Trump and are Democrats, which is sad. You gotta, but I can tell you this, there are a tremendous amount. I can't tell you how many times I've heard in the past 48 hours African Americans who are media stars like Harris Faulkner from Fox News, who's just an incredible shining star. She came and spoke at our church when she came out with her book a couple of years ago. It was fantastic. She's a wonderful woman. And one of my good friends, one of my old bosses from Atlanta, and she's a member, and she may not agree with some of the things, but she's not some Democrat activist. So there's all sorts of types of people in there, okay? Anyways, he agreed to speak. Now, it's important to know that Kamala blew them off. Kamala did not. They invited her and Trump. They always invite the candidates. Kamala blew them off. She didn't want to show for National Association of Black Journalists. And then Trump said, "I'll go. I want to earn your vote," and he goes. So he cares. He earns the vote. He goes there in the lion's den, if you will, and she blew him off. After Trump agreed and went there and spoke, she was made a fool because she is a fool, and so she said, "Oh, can I do a Zoom?" And she says sometime in the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks, she's gonna. I'm like, this is a joke. It's a joke. But with that said, I want to go back because the woman from ABC News, the reporter, is not a journalist. She's an activist. And you have to understand that Trump was delayed by 25 to 35 minutes. He was on time. He said, "I respect it." He was on time, and he was ready to go for 1 hour on stage with the NABJ. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that good? And because of the NABJ's incompetence and inability to put together the stage and the audio and technical difficulties, and it could have been the reporter too, we don't know the full story of that. But Harris Faulkner is a member, and she was on that stage. She was one of the 3 journalists interviewing Trump, and she said it was a disaster. The whole thing was a disaster. She said, my chair was, it was like it was COVID restrictions. She was like, if you saw the picture, it's the ABC News lady right next to Trump, being nasty. And then about 6 to 8 feet over to the right is another reporter. It's like, what the hell is it? And then 6 to 8 feet over after that again is Harris Faulkner. And he couldn't hear her half the time. The microphone didn't work. I mean, this is a, and by the way, this is Chicago. My hometown. That's union labor. They don't know a dang thing about anything there, but they make $50, $100 an hour, and they don't know how to do. A freaking broadcast journalism professional society can't put together a freaking microphone and a stage for interviews. Let that sink in. So they screwed Trump. He's waiting for 35 minutes, and he's given an hour. They only got 25, 30 minutes because he had to go. He had a rally in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, a couple hours after this. So he's up there, and this woman begins a whole thing with this, all right? And then I'm going to play his response, too, with it, but I want you to hear this, because I'm going to be asking you 3 questions. I'll even ask them right now. How unprofessional was this ABC News reporter in her treatment of Trump? And how bad was Trump's response to her and his racial comments about Kamala? And if you're black, how did it make you feel to hear those comments from Trump? How has it affected your vote? Where she's talked about it, where she wasn't black, she was Asian, now she's black, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to play that one because you've heard it ad infinitum for a day and a half on 2 days. But here is the beginning, because I want you to reflect on this woman and how nasty she was to him. Seriously, she was not a journalist, she's an activist. Listen to this. Here we go. Wait, where's my NABJ? There it is. Okay.
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country.
Okay, so, she literally said, you've said this and this, which is not true. That's her opinion. Reporters don't give their opinion. She did. She attacked him. If she wanted to say that, she could say which some critics called blank, or which some critics said was not true. She says which wasn't true, as if it's fact. You don't tell people what your opinion is if you want to report. This woman is an activist. Now, look, that's fine if you want to be a Democrat activist or an anti-Trump activist. That's fine. But you can't be a reporter and be an activist. She cannot control herself, and she cannot be unbiased. She's a failure. I don't care how many degrees she has or who she works for. She is a failure. She cannot control herself. She cannot do her job. And she has embarrassed and shamed her profession. She's embarrassed and shamed the NABJ. And so did that co-chair woman that resigned because she refused, because they let Trump come. Every year they invite both candidates. And the president of the NABJ, Mr. Lamont, I forget his first name, has so class. And he said it totally perfectly if you've heard him say. He's like, we do this every year. We're not going to invite people whether we like them or not. We're journalists. We're supposed to. And this freaking woman does this crap. Shame on her. Shame on her. She's a fool. She's a twit. She can't control herself. Now, when Harris Faulkner interviewed him, she had real questions. Some of them were sharp. She even said she was criticizing Trump. Today on Fox and yesterday, she said, "I asked him point blank, is J.D. Vance ready on day one? If something should happen to you, you've said something would happen to you. You realize after the assassination attempt, you really need to have somebody that can be ready on day one. Is he ready?" And she said Trump danced around the question. He didn't answer it. So that's a journalist. You don't see any highlights from her that are negative. You don't see any highlights from even the woman from in the middle. I forget her name, but she's a reporter for Semaphore. And I think there was one question that was a little but none of her stuff got play. You know why? Because she didn't do this crap. So 2 out of 3 black female professional journalists didn't do this crap. One was an idiot. And not even an idiot. One was an activist. And shame on her. She beclowned herself. Now, with that, Trump, your response is what you should be doing. You don't react, you respond. And Trump was wrong to say Kamala is black, is she Indian? It's stupid. It's horrible. It didn't cost him the election, in my opinion, but it hurt him badly. And her numbers are shooting up, but she's going to fall real hard soon. I'm going to play some of the soundbite. There's a 4-minute compilation of her doing interviews over the past several years, and it's like 10, 15 seconds of it. It's so bad, and you're going to hear it. I just retweeted it, or I will retweet it in a minute. And just follow me on Twitter. If you aren't following me, I don't know what the heck is wrong with you. Do you not want to have everything I do on the show? Everything I do on the show is put up on Twitter. Most facts, most stories, and most sound. Follow me on Twitter. It's also the same address for my Instagram. There's an incredible one you'll love from the Olympics in reaction to that man punching a woman in the face and being called a woman. And we're going to get into that one coming up shortly, too. But my questions for you: how unprofessional was the ABC News reporter in the treatment of Trump that you just heard there? And how bad was Trump's response to her and his racial comments about Kamala? And if you're black, and I really mean this is important to me, to hear your heart. And it's been interesting to take some of the calls and I'm doing some fill-ins for another station out there in America earlier in the day, and on a real monster station like WVAP with a lot of African-American listeners, and hearing people's calls, some of who were offended by it and some of who were absolutely not bothered by it at all and even agree with it was wild. But if you're black, how did it make you feel to hear those comments about Kamala's race, and how has it affected your vote? All that next. I want to hear from you right now, though. Chime in. Lines wide open. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. You'll hear some of the highlights from Kamala. Also coming up next in her interviews is 4-minute supercut, which is pretty incredible. But then also, I'm going to tell you the latest about how this woman is being sunk story by story about all the things she did that are wrong. Wait till you hear what she said about Christmas and illegals. You're not going to believe this. I've got that too. All that it's just starting to come out, and it's going to be a deluge of nastiness about this woman because she's a horrible candidate. She's terrible. That's why she couldn't get one vote when she ran for president in the primaries, and she registered at 0.0 in the heavily African American South Carolina primary. She dropped out before the votes were cast because she knew she wouldn't even get one.
Within the first 100 days.
News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Having trouble getting that audio up for the compilation of her, but I'll get it to you tonight at some point. All right. I'm going to give you some of the positions here in a minute about Kamala and how she's such a hypocrite. It's really, really bad. Like she's doing the opposite of what she said she would do, or it's a disaster in what she has done. But how unprofessional was that ABC News reporter in her treatment of Trump? I played you the 52 seconds of attacks and giving her opinion and then asking some kind of a question at the end. And then how bad was Trump's response to her and his racial comments about Kamala, saying, first she was Indian, now she's black and this and that. Which is not true. She did go to an HBCU college. She went to Howard, and she also was in a black woman's fraternity. So it's just that's wrong. It's just so stupid, anyways. And you know what else I want to mention this too before we go to AJ's call in Arlington plus your call at 800-288-WBAP. The questions, by the way, are: if you're black, how did it make you feel to hear those comments about her race? How has it affected your vote? How bad was Trump's response to her and his racial comments about Kamala, and how unprofessional was that ABC News reporter in her treatment of Trump? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. My friend Eric Erickson, I was mentioning the other day, he wrote a column about this, and he said there's a lot of African Americans that call in on his show, and African American friends that he has that are Democrat and vice versa, that say that about her and her race, and whether she's really black or not. I'm not saying it. He just says he says that's for them to decide and talk amongst themselves, not for some idiot to talk about it like that. Stupid, AJ, and offensive. AJ in Arlington, you are on News Talk 820 WBAP. What's up?
Hey, Chris. To be honest, I don't know where the offense is from. Trump said what he has to say. He's doing politics. It doesn't affect any black man. I don't see any black man or woman who will be offended. If anything, Trump is, stating something. He's being political, putting some things out there for blacks to start thinking about. But no black, I don't really think it's like Obama's time where the energy was that much on, we have a first black guy. No black is being offended, to be honest, by what Trump said. And if you ask if the comments from the activists from ABC, if they were unprofessional.
So you're saying you're saying that you don't think any black people would be offended by what Trump said?
No. We had a conversation about it, and
who's we?
That my family members.
Okay.
We've been talking about it. Black. I listened to your show yesterday.
Thank you very much, AJ. By the way, I hear an accent. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Nigeria. I'm an American now.
Okay, Nigeria. Oh, Nigeria. Yes. Okay, good. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So again, if anything, Chris, everybody wants to be successful. Okay.
So, I'm sorry, sir. Say it again.
If anything, everybody wants to be successful. You know, how it's not the color of your skin, it's who makes the economy better for us. You know, so if people pander to color during Obama's time, we had the first black guy in there, that's it. A lot of things, and there's absolutely nothing. I will say it again, absolutely nothing when it comes to faith, religion, a lot of issues that blacks hold there that Kamala is far from. So some of these things are more important than the color issue. So
So you don't. It's not offensive. And do you consider her African American or black? Oh, she's actually not. I'm African American. Jamaica's not in Africa, but so anyway. I guess I got your opinion. Really, you're not offended by it. It's no big deal.
No.
I wanted to ask you about the Obama thing though, real fast. Can you stand by? I want to ask you when we come back. Can you?
Yeah, sure.
Good. And by the way, you can call in too at 800-288-WBAP. I wanted to ask him about Kamala being the next Obama, and I'm being serious. We'll get to that next on the Chris Krok Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.